It's a dick move to ask you this, but can I ask you to define a woman? Is that okay?
What's happening, everybody? In today's video, David Pakman sits down with Konstantin Kisin and Francis Foster, the hosts of the Triggernometry Podcast. David Pakman has asked a very simple question: what is a woman? Place your bets right now. Did David Pakman answer this question, or did he ramble nonsensically for minutes on end and say absolutely nothing? I guess we'll see. With that, let's watch the hosts of the Triggernometry Podcast make David Pakman look like the soy boy beta cuck fool that he is. Let's go.
It's a dick move to ask you this, but can I ask you to define a woman? Is that okay?
Yeah, so listen, I mean, I did a whole thing with this right-wing guy named Michael Knowles a little while ago.
Okay.
Where, we were talking about the definition of a woman, and the context was the Ketanji Brown Jackson hearings and her refusal to answer. And there I argued that makes perfect sense because they're asking in a legal context. The question is who can bring a discrimination lawsuit on the basis of gender? And I thought she was right not to answer it. And I made the point that depending on where you're asking the question, the answer could actually be different. Now, I'm glad to give my view of this socially, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, of course. Go for it.
This is, again, and the problem with this, and I know you guys would never do this because you seem so honest. The problem is that sometimes this question is then used to put someone in a corner. So I will say in advance that the definition I have will not work in every setting, okay? Like, for example, the definition I have in an OBGYN's office may not work because we recognize biological differences, right? But for me, the broadest way where I think about who am I going to relate to as a woman, it would be somebody who I identify as deliberately trying to exist in the world as a woman. And so if I see...
Hey, if you like watching videos like these, like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
See a biological man who... And again, we have to talk about this in candid ways, which some people might not like, but I think it's necessary. If I see me with a wig on, it's not going to be apparent to me that that's someone who is necessarily trying to exist in the world as a woman if they go by the name David and their voice is like mine and they dress like me. So I'm just going to make the best faith effort I can where if it's indicated through a number of different cues that someone is trying to exist in the world as a woman, I'll relate to them as a woman. That's fine. It just doesn't bother me.
Oh, sure. And in fact, I am kind of where you are in the sense that we've had a shit ton of trans people on the show and we call them by whatever name they have and the pronouns that they've chosen, right? I've got no issue with that. Sure. However, my issue is that and again, this...
A couple things right off the bat. David, I don't need you to wear a wig to misgender you. You're very effeminate, and I've often wondered at times, are you a woman? So that's not germane to this commentary, but I just want to throw that out there. But I think you guys have to admit, look at him. David is one handsome guy. Can you imagine what a beautiful woman he'd make? All right, silly time is over. At the outset of this clip, the reason these guys have to preface their question of what is a woman by saying, I'm being a dick if I ask this question, is because they know who David is. He's a beta leftist. I guarantee they wouldn't consider that same preface if they were interviewing any real man. But they know if they want to get any conversation going with him, they have to handle these pussies with kid gloves because they're so delicate. And I just want you to take note. We've been watching this clip for approximately 2.5 minutes. And has he given anything close to an answer? This portion of the interview could have been done in 5 to 10 seconds. David, what is a woman? An adult human female. Boom, that's it. There's one answer. It's not nuanced. It's not different definitions based on the setting. This has to infuriate everyone who's watching this. Isn't it crazy that one side of the political aisle has to complicate the most basic facts that we've known since the beginning of time? They like to rename things like Latinx or unhoused, but they don't solve anything. They just cause division. And look, I'm not even that bright, and I can see through it from a mile away. It's part of their strategy. One last thing before I get back to the video. David Pakman said something to the effect of, I mean, this definition wouldn't work in an OBGYN office where biological differences matter. Right. So if it doesn't work there, it doesn't work anywhere. Biological differences matter. You fucking idiot. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
It's just me being straight with you. I hope you don't take offense to what I'm saying.
Please.
In your refusal to give a definition that is equally applicable in different circumstances, you're kind of avoiding the difficult elements of this, right?
Well, the difficult elements are exactly that, which if... Okay, sorry, I interrupted. No, go ahead.
I know you know where I'm going, but let me just give the example so people know what we're talking about. So we have a number of cases here in the UK, for example, and I know you've had some in the US as well, where a trans woman who still has a male anatomy has been housed in a female prison and has gone on to commit sexual assault against women in prison, right? Okay. We obviously have had trans women in female sports where they, in my opinion, have an unfair advantage. And there are other situations in which our failure to give a clear, universal definition means that women in particular, in this very instance, are suffering the consequences of our social unwillingness to be quite hardline about it. Would you agree with that?
Well, that's what in a court they would say that that's a compound question, and we've really got to break down each of those, because whether I agree with everything you said, I don't know. So let's. I'm not even sure where to.
You know, I always say I give credit where credit is due on this channel. Thank you so much, David, for defining a compound question for us. I mean, you are so smart, and the hosts, and obviously us, the viewers, we are so dumb that we really appreciate you explaining how language works to us. So thank you. Two things. This isn't a nuanced answer, David. It's a convoluted answer made up by your party. Also, there aren't any difficult elements of this question. The left has made it difficult. That's what your party does. Let's get back to the video.
To start. So, okay. I mean, in prison, there was a sexual assault by a biological male housed with women. Okay, I don't know the story. We have a country of 331 million in the United States, so you can find examples sort of everything. Sexual assault by biological females of other females in American prisons is really common. So for me, what I go to is less about, trans people, I think, are 1/3 of 1% of the population in the US. I may be slightly off about that, but let's use that as a working number. For me, every assault is bad. Sure. And the bigger issue is American prisons are terrible at keeping inmates safe. And I apply that to men's prisons and women's prisons.
David, sure, but you're deflecting here, aren't you?
I don't think. And so, but let me go further.
Let me give you the reverse of your argument, right?
No, but I wasn't even done.
Cops shooting black people is bad.
Sorry, gang, I can't take any more. I don't want to hear him explain his answer any further. We suffered through, 5-6 minutes for one question, never gave anything close to an answer. So not that we need any more indications of this, but a telltale sign that someone is a liberal is that they don't have an instinct to protect women. For most men, this shouldn't be a question. So let's take this female prison example that they're giving, right? For most men, this really isn't a question because you're putting a man in with women, in this case criminal women, in more danger unnecessarily. David's essential non-argument is sexual assault by women is rampant in women's prisons too. So what's the big deal with a couple more by a physically stronger man that can hurt them even more severely? So let's make it worse for them by putting a stronger, more powerful predator in their prison. It's hard to argue with that, David. And David, what a lucid point you made. Every assault is bad. Wow, that's insightful. The problem is, David, when you're putting a man in a woman's prison, these assaults are avoidable. Again, if you're a man, you just know that you don't put men in with women. So the only conclusion I can draw is that us misogynistic Republicans want to protect women and you want to put them in more danger. Remember when Donald Trump said at a rally, women, whether you like it or not, we're going to protect women. And the media acted like he was an a-hole. And anyone who has a brain, of course he's not. That's just what real men instinctively do. So David, I'm sure you're watching my video right now. So I just want to wrap this whole thing up by saying to you, if you're ever asked again, what is a woman? It's an adult human female. That's all you got to say, man. That's 3 words. And you're very smart, clearly, because you've taught us about language and you've given a long-winded answer with a lot of big words and nuance, as you say. In the future, it'll just allow you the opportunity to save your breath on these long-winded rants that you go on that go absolutely nowhere to the simplest question on planet Earth. But I would really like to hear from you in the comments. But I would like to hear from you in the comments. David mentioned earlier something about him wearing a wig, and so I want to know from you in the comments. David mentioned earlier something about him wearing a wig in women's clothes in his private time and look at himself in the mirror like Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs. I want to hear what you have to say on this hard-hitting topic. Anyway, that's it for today's video. If you want to watch more unhinged leftists that think they're smarter than everyone in the room, ramble and ramble while other people clown on them, then click on one of the 2 videos that just popped up on your screen. Otherwise, as always, I really, really appreciate you all being here. And I'm doing this on Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I posted something earlier today, but I don't know how many people saw it. My message was, today is a day of gratitude, and I am so grateful for everyone who has subbed, watched one of my videos, liked my videos, hated my videos. I'm really grateful that you've taken time out of your life to watch my videos. So thank you all so much. So again, happy Thanksgiving. I hope you're able to spend it with your family. Enjoy a nice long weekend. And we'll see you on the next one. The end.